Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for our weekly show brought to you by Join Cycling. It was a slow November, but now at the start of December, there's enough accumulated news to really get through. We're going to talk about Remco Evenepoel's unfortunate crash, Maxim Van Gils confirmed to Red Bull BORA hansgrohe Lefevere, predictably replaced by Jurgen Foray as the CEO of Quick-Step, and UAE Emirates I think they did a presser on Tuesday, and they announced some schedules of riders. I'm pretty sure every professional cyclist in the world is in Denia at the moment. It's kind of ridiculous, actually.
Sorry.
Where are you? But you're not, Benji.
I'm not in Denia. I'm also not a professional cyclist, so that still fits. I'm in Tenerife, and I gotta be honest.
Paid to ride your bike.
Fair. The one time I plan a 1 week out to enjoy my life outside of pro cycling, the 1 week in the off season, we have Remco crashing, Van Gils confirming to BORA, Lefevere being replaced, UAE Team Emirates schedule reactions, Pidcock announcement, Van Gils announcement. I'm sorry. Can we just... Is the world of cycling trying to make sure I don't have any rest in this off season? I'm trying to enjoy my life out here, and I get announcements everywhere. It's like they all planned it for the week I'm gone. It's not fair.
Yeah, because I'm on Australian time zone. Like, all this stuff happens usually in the late afternoon European time, and I'm like blissfully sleeping, and there's stuff going on. Remco's, and I'm asleep, and I wake up. I'm like, oh, that's no good. But before we get into Remco's crash and the prognosis for his return, a word in our show partner, Join Cycling. I'm in the middle of my FTP builder. I completed the Lanterne Rouge plan. That put me in a good place. My fitness level, by any metric, by the metric on Strava, on intervals, whatever, I'm the fittest I've been for a long, long time. I did 15Ks. I did 15K run this morning, Benji, in the heat.
Why?
Well, because I like to mix it up. Because I like being an all-round, if I want to be a bit all-round. Cycling doesn't really make you...
half a week you'll have a knee injury.
Nah. I got good genetics for it. And I've never had knee injury. I never had ankles or knees.
Yeah.
Back is cooked, obviously. Back is finished, but knees and ankles are okay. But yeah, I can't believe how well I'm going here in the humidity and the heat on the Gold Coast, thanks to Join Cycling. I'll be peaking just in time for the TDU, which Benji's coming to as well, just around the corner in January. Let us know, do you want us to do, is corkscrew or Willunga? Which one would be a better climb to do? I want to do corkscrew.
I want to do Willunga. We have a problem here.
Where we do, because Willunga logistically is much more, it's a mission to get out there. Corkscrew is in town, basically.
How hard is corkscrew in terms of
corkscrew
gradients?
Is way hard. Corkscrew is harder, yeah. But it's not that long.
Yeah, but how high are the gradients?
To be honest, corkscrew is like not... It's kind of maybe 15, 16%. It's really bigged up to be more than...
You make it sound easy.
Yeah, but it's not not for like a extended long period. I haven't done it for a while, but that's not like
I'll be walking up.
It's just a
for
pinch.
a kilometer, 50%. Oh, it's only a kilometer.
No. It's 9% for a K and a half or 2Ks.
Anyway.
But yeah, we'll be doing... Let us know which one you want us to do. Maybe we'll end up doing Willunga. Maybe we'll do both. Maybe we'll do Norton Summit, but I'm preparing for that. If you want to check out Join Cycling through the link down below, it's trainer season as well. Join Cycling's got the trainer plans. I've seen all the snow. Luke is snowed in at the moment in Andorra. So yeah, if you want to do a specific trainer plan because you're locked indoors in Europe or America, go check out Join Cycling through the link down below. But Remco Evenepoel, Benji, he will be on the trainer for the foreseeable future. What is the story with him?
So basically, he was on a training ride about a week and a half ago. He rode through a village. I don't remember which village. I think Oetingen or something in Vlaams-Brabant. And there was a postal van by the side of the road of the Belgian post called B-Post. That individual in the van opened their car door, and Remco straight up rode into the door at pretty high speeds from what I could tell. I don't know the exact speed he was riding at, but the consequences are pretty severe because it is impacting his season properly. Broken hand, broken rib, broken shoulder blade, lung contusions, luxation of the collarbone. I feel like a doctor after saying those 5 words, but I'm clearly not. Obviously, it is not a crazy hot take to say that December is the place where a lot of cyclists try and get their training right for the season. So for him to be impacted during this part of the season, how influential is that to the area of May to July, where he might have ridden Giro or Tour, most likely the Tour?
Yeah, I don't think he was ever doing the Giro, but there were rumors. No. I mean, I've seen a lot of rumors about a lot of people doing the Giro, some of which is inaccurate. So, like Poggy doing the Giro, there's just no chance.
Nah.
Like, there's just 0% chance Poggy's doing the Giro it ever was. And people, RCS rumors were like, or Gazzetta rumors like, oh, Poggy might do the Giro. It's like, or Beppe Conti, Poggy might do the Giro. I don't know, buddy. He's got a new contract.
Every time Beppe Conti says something, usually the opposite happens.
Yeah. So, I don't think Remco was going to do the Giro. I don't know what classics he was going to do, whether he was going to do some cobble classics. And because if Remco was going to do the Tour of Flanders, then I would start him in Omloop. And so that would then be impacted by this, because you don't want to just start in the Tour of Flanders unless you're Poggy. But the circumstances, have you run through the injury report, Benji?
I've run through the injury report. I haven't spoken about the rumored 8 weeks that he might not be able to train properly. That I think Lefevere spoke about. Like, I think Lefevere, I saw an article somewhere, I think it was on Het Nieuwsblad, where there was a mention of 8 weeks of not being able to train properly. I don't know if that's properly training as like not being able to ride outside, or whether being on the trainer is also not possible there. But I would guess you could probably go on the trainer earlier with those injuries, but I'm not sure, obviously.
Yeah, I think so, as long as it's not the lower body. But the shoulder might not. I mean, he's had surgery, so he's got open wounds. He's got stitches probably in there or stuff. I don't know. So definitely not on the trainer today or tomorrow, I wouldn't think. Maybe he's on one of those, like the Ineos Britannia stationary, like how they pedal lying down, like the recumbents. You could do a recumbent, maybe, to keep turning over the legs.
I have no clue what you're talking about, by the way.
Like, you know, the sailboats?
Yes.
So the Ineos sailboat is powered by cyclists in recumbents. That does the trimming of the sail. Ashton Lambie does it.
Cool.
Maybe Remco has to do that. Remco to Ineos, question mark? Remco to Ineos Britannia?
So you're saying Remco's on a boat America's right now. That's what I'm understanding.
I'm saying Jim Ratcliffe will try and skirt around the UCI contract and sign Remco to Ineos Britannia, the America's Cup sailing team.
Okay.
It's something to consider.
I conclude that this is a bullshit story. Anyway. Now, so, I don't know what the consequences are going to be from this injury. I do think a race like UAE Tour will be impacted, because that's early on in the season. That's February. And I was kind of hoping for a Pogačar-Remco battle there, but
Poggy gets
that
lucky
doesn't look
again.
likely, eh? What, sorry?
Poggy gets lucky again.
I think Poggy would have destroyed Remco there anyway, not going to lie.
So, yeah, I think if he was going to do UAE, that's out. He normally does Algarve and cleans everybody up there. There's normally a 30k TT there. That's looking dubious in February. So, yeah, hopefully it doesn't affect the main goals. Thank God it's not any better. But Remco Benji, he's had a lot of crashes. He's had a lot of, like, I would say, moderate to severe, well, very severe crashes. Lombardia, this one, the Giro he crashed out before. He's had a lot of heavy crashes, broken bones, and it's not ideal.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas, like, Roglic has had a lot of crashes. Roglic has rarely hurt himself as badly as Remco hurt himself in this crash.
That's true. But it's also, I feel like, maybe it's just me, but when I feel like, okay, if I just ride into a van tomorrow, which let's hope that does not happen, and I have a broken hand, a broken rib, broken shoulder blade, and so forth, I'm out for like 6 months, I'm pretty sure. With pro cyclists, I'm expecting Remco to suddenly show up on the bike in like 4.5 weeks again. Like, It's crazy how fast these cyclists, with obviously the perfect professional environment, the recovery unnecessary, how fast they're on the bike again. So let's hope that's the case also with Remco, so that we can see him at his full prime level in 2025. But there's also a follow-up to that. Obviously, Bpost didn't have the greatest marketing because of the driver that opened their door and Remco hit it. Obviously, that's not great marketing for Bpost, but they tried to turn it around the other day because Remco and Bpost are now doing a marketing campaign where every Bpost driver will have like a little Remco on their left door handle or door window, so that every time they open the door, they think of Remco and they don't just open the door without thinking about cyclists. And it's called the Remco Reflex. I'm not kidding.
Remco get paid for it?
I hope so. He should, to be honest. Actually, Bpost is
that should be part of the settlement, right?
It's a national company. It's like a Belgian company. Sorry, this means taxpayers are paying for the Remco Reflex.
Yeah, but instead of having a civil suit, like a settlement for, I guess, they just do it like this. Although I guess I would say, like,
I think it's a great idea.
That is a really positive thing, and Remco, he is one of our favorites. I really like Remco just because, he's coming out saying there's no need to send hate to Bpost or the rider in Perth. He's a very empathetic young man. So, best wishes to Remco. That's a nice way to sort of finish it, that they have that joint campaign. I would say, haven't seen the video, don't know whose fault it was, whatever. Sidestep. Pro cyclists ride. Of course, they're very fast and they're very fit, and their handling is way, way better than the average person. But if you see how pro cyclists ride through, particularly sometimes when it becomes a dense area, they're training in the middle of nowhere, and then they come in and bring the same mindset to a dense area, and what they do around traffic sometimes, I raise my eyebrow in Girona or wherever. Because it doesn't matter how good your reactions are if you ride too close to a car door, or if you're just riding too fast through a small area without good visibility and a car pulls out, you can crash.
I'll fight you a little bit on this though, because the way I kind of compare it to like the whole fight between drivers and cyclists that has gone like super mainstream in the last couple of years, where each side of the spectrum blames the other, as like cars will never see the side of cyclists when they're trying to blame them, and the cyclists, to be honest, they're not in cars, so they're not as safe. And in this specific situation, a Bpost person opens the door without looking. For me, that's the initial mistake, and that's what's at fault here. Yes, Remco probably could have been more careful and maybe not ride as fast if that was the case through a village. But for me, this is on the Bpost person to begin with. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's not that it's not their fault, but I'm just saying, like, the reality is people are going to open their doors without looking. And except maybe in the Netherlands, because they're taught to do it the Dutch. People are going to do it. Whether it's wrong or not, there's just the reality. So it's like practice avoidant behavior.
It's like yesterday or 2 days ago, I was climbing Santiago del Teide here, which was my biggest climb ever. Thank you to my joint cycling training plan for getting me in shape for that. And in the descent back, the last part of the descent towards Puerto de Santiago has like parked cars everywhere, but like diagonally next to the road. So it's like actual parking spots. And it's terrifying because it's like a 6% downhill descent, which if I don't ride only 25k per hour there's no way I can react in time. Because normally people would ride 50k per hour in this descent. But for this last 2-3 kilometers, I literally can't. Or there's a risk that I hit a car that pulls out that shouldn't be pulling out when I'm cycling past, So I try to adapt towards that, but it's still a scary, scary situation in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Grandma crosses the road in the descent of the enduring climb.
Exactly. Well, not the hard way. Exactly. Okay, so best wishes to Remco. Other news It wasn't the Belgian Remco. It's a different Belgian after Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe breaking his contract. Maxim Van Gils.
Emergency! Whoa, 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 whoa! No.
Let's just check it. Okay, let's check his Instagram. How many followers has he got now after the announcement? Let's see. What do you reckon? What are you guessing?
Change.
What are you guessing? He was on 15.3 before.
I think he's on 15.5.
16K!
Oh!
16K!
Crazy growth.
Yeah. Well, maybe because Red Bull announced it on LinkedIn first. That's where the news broke. So
that is so silly. I'm sorry.
If it was on Instagram first, maybe he would have more. But
social media of some of these World Tour teams, men's and women's side, like I'm looking at all these teams, and FDJ Suez on the women's side clears the majority of the teams. Genuinely, they're so much better than all these other teams at their social media. You know,
their bike paint job looks sick.
Oh, it's lovely. The really kit as well.
Yeah.
I like it.
But yes, Van Gils signs a 3-year deal with Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. They've signed a whole host of stars, or maybe stars is not the right word, like really good riders. They've signed Van Gils, Pitti, Lascano, Fischer Black, Pellizzari, and the Van Dijk brothers. None of them are superstars yet. Or stars yet, but they could be. And so that seems to be the strategy that they've adopted. I think they're all young. They're all under 25, if I can count correctly. That's kind of just turned 25, so they're all young, and so they all fit a common theme. What do you think? I think Van Gils, Benji, because I think there's a lot of space for him in this team, because it's not like Roglic, outside of Flesh, is the favorite for Amstel.
I think so too. And like, if I look at the situation, there's been a lot of comments online on social media about, they've got so many chefs in the kitchen right now. I'm sorry, but a lot of these chefs aren't even like proper chefs yet. A lot of these chefs are sous chefs that need other sous chefs to be able to win a certain race.
They're
if we take a look at the classics riders, dishwashers. Some might be. Jordi Meeuwis is a dishwasher, in my opinion. But if we take a look at the rest of the squad, for example, and we speak about the riders they signed, and especially the ones you just mentioned, Piffy, Lascano, the combination of those two riders is so much stronger than one of those two alone. Like, Lascano alone is just a rider that can go from far, has the engine, and doesn't necessarily have the sprint to beat people in a small group. Piffy is, well, he also has the engine, but in some of the classics last year, he didn't have the endurance yet to really fight until the actual finish with the top guns. But he then has the sprint, which Lascano doesn't have. So that's a perfect combination to have a guy for the long and a guy for the short. No, that's not what I meant. A guy for the long attacks and a guy for the sprint if that fails. That's what I meant with Lascano and Piffy. That's a perfect combination. And then we continue onwards, and the Van Dijk brothers, add that to that team, you've got potentially a stronger team around it, which in the classics has been very important across the last couple of years. So it's really about having as many solid riders as possible to get into the final of a classic with as many riders as possible, to have more options so you can try and outplay the big guns, which they're the Mathieu van der Poels of the world, and maybe the other teams with numerical advantages like a little Trek now in 2025. Like, those teams, you're going to need more than just one or two of these riders to be able to beat those kind of teams. So I have absolutely no issue with this being a team with multiple sous chefs in the team right now. And add to that, yes, maybe that reduces the chance that Van Gils rides the Cobble Classics next year. But when it comes to the Hill Classics, Roglic riding those Hill Classics, you mentioned it already. Yeah, for LBL, he's a very good candidate. For Amstel, he's a very good candidate. But it's not a crime to have two riders that are a very good candidate for these races. Same for Strade Bianche. And there's a chance that Roglic doesn't ride every single one of these races. Like, how many times has Roglic ridden Amstel Gold Race? Or
Canada.
There's plenty of races for this man to still be competitive. And also, it's not like he's won these classics before. He's won Eschborn Frankfurt. Or was it BMSR Classics? I don't even know. One of the two German ones.
He won Eschborn. He won Saudi in 2022. He won Argau this year. He won the TT in Ruta del Sol.
So
Argau,
any one-day classic outside of Eschborn would already be an improvement on his victory results of last year.
Yeah, exactly. They got Ruja Adria as well, who's was very, very good in the long one-day races. So it just makes it and the Vuelta. It just makes it and Worlds. In Worlds he was good. So now they have just a stronger one-day team. They've still got Igita under contract. If they can get him right, he was good in Liège with Danny Martinez a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's apparently Astana also bid for him. I guess if the money's equal, you would go to Red Bull. At the moment, of course, it's a shame for Lotto Destiny. I don't, Hulot. Which one is Stefan Hulot is the CEO of Lotto Destiny, right? And Delcourt is FDJ.
Correct.
Okay. Hulot, I think, had his back against the wall and basically just had no choice. He got railroaded.
Yep.
And
they got
a buyout for him, and then they move on.
How do we feel about this situation? Because Maxim Van Gils, on the 18th of March, an article came out, and actually Lotto Destiny announced it on the 18th of March, that Maxim Van Gils extends with Lotto Destiny. That is less than a year ago, and that was about 6 months ago when the first rumors started popping up. So 6 months after his extension, he ends up thinking about leaving the team. And I think that's as a consequence of the fact that he kept on getting better and better results throughout the year and was even in the top 5 of the UCI world ranking for a while. Now, if I look at it from a non-cycling perspective, let's say I'm an employee of the company in Belgium, Europe, whatever, there are laws that allow me to dip out whenever, as long as I give like a good enough notice beforehand. But this is not regular 9-to-5 job. This is the pro cycling world. And on one end, in my head, I'm like, yeah, but he's still an employee of a company, so he should have the right to leave with a good enough notice. But on the other hand, that if that was the case in the world of cycling, then the whole contract system's kind of fucked, no?
Yeah, exactly. And it's also depends on which country they're in, because in Belgium, I'm pretty sure there's legal precedent from football that sport is not a special category, and so they can just leave. But the reality is that the football clubs really try not to do that, and they or maybe they introduce special law, I can't remember, but I think the football clubs just try not to fuck each other over, because then it would bring down the whole thing. I mean, other options is, if you're the agent that does this, then the team itself will probably not be too keen to sign your riders in the future. Now, it's Lotto Destiny. They're a pro team. They're not the richest team, so they don't. That's not the biggest stick, really, to an agency, unless you're like a Belgian agency specifically. So,
and also, it's a big agency.
Yeah. They got, so if Lotto's pissed at them or not, I mean, what do they care? But yeah, he's gone. I think the UCI I think they should introduce rules to determine the value of the value of the buyout should be what Red Bull paid Van Gils, whether it's 1 or 2 years of that. So no, the remaining years of his contract with Lotto was what? 2 years? 2025, 26?
The rumored salary was also 600K per year for those 2 years. It was
25, 26. He had 2 more years?
I don't know. I generally don't know.
Anyway, let's say it was 2 more years.
Yes, 2026, correct.
The buying team should have to pay 2 years times what they're paying him.
So not 1.2 million, but the salary that he would earn at BORA times 2.
Yeah, say he's on 1.5 now, 3 mil. Because, okay, say you're, a team that signs a young rider, on a crazy contract. You give him 4 years, 250K. Now, in practice, you'd want to probably extend them early or renegotiate, but say you don't want to renegotiate. And then they got 2 years left on 250K, and this is like a Tour de France level rider, and someone's going to buy them out and give them 3 million euros a year. Why would you? Then you only have to pay them out, what, 500K? Like it's too low. You get punished for having the rider on such a team friendly contract. It should be the inverse.
Yeah, I see that.
So, yeah,
I don't know. I haven't thought it through yet, but I do think that, does it change your opinion on like Rolf Denk's position, where he was very, very adamant? Was it a year ago about the fact that, less than a year ago, about the fact that they were going to go for homegrown talents and not buy talent that is already established? Or do you not consider these riders established yet because they haven't reached their prime yet? Like Van Gils has not, on paper, reached his best possible results yet. Based on last year, you would expect, okay, maybe with that level, he can get potentially better results in a stronger team around him. I believe that is definitely a possibility. When it comes to Piffy, it still feels like he hasn't reached his prime yet, because he showed himself for the first time properly in the Classics last year. Lascano, I think he can do better than what he's done at Movistar, personally, especially in a team that is stronger around him in those Classics. So, I don't know why. I've got like this taste of feeling when it comes to... Also, Rolf Denk is also the guy that was complaining about Jumbo-Visma Lisa by going after Kian Uiterbroeks, who's under contract. Then he does the same for Maxim Van Gils. And also, next to that, how are teams allowed to negotiate with riders under a contract anyway? Because the rule don't the rules literally disallow that?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Like, it makes Rolf Denk look like an absolute hypocrite. But then again, how much in control is he still since Red Bull took over? I don't know that.
I think he's still in control.
Well, then he's a hypocrite. But then again, I would do the same. I'd also be a hypocrite. But then I probably wouldn't have said the shit he said nearly a year ago.
What Hasbulla say? Business is business.
Who?
Hasbulla, the little Russian.
Oh.
From Dagestan.
Business is business. Okay. Yeah, I've seen him.
It's just... Yeah, I mean, it's just business, isn't it? Like, when the positions are reversed, people do the same thing. That's how it is. I mean, Lefevere always said this. Lefevere said he sounded off last year. He had a great, and it's a great tangent. Patrick Lefevere had a borderline incomprehensible reply or something on Twitter about Denk talking to Remco and trying to because they had a gentleman's agreement about the timing of how that would work. But yeah, onto Patrick Lefevere. I think we already mentioned the name Jürgen Faure on this podcast before, yes. But he joined Soudal Quick-Step as COO in late 23. It was pretty much put in the articles then of the press release that he's supposed to be the successor to Lefevere and is getting trained up as such. Yeah. He came from one of the big four, I think, accounting firms.
I think, yes.
And then today, what happened, Benji? Is this a force out or is this the natural transition?
Gotta be honest, I kind of don't know, because I think there is a natural transition to the fact that Lefevere was going to dip out in the next couple of years. Whether that was already going to happen at the end of 2024, I don't know, because last year we did have a weird situation within the team, no? During the whole merger situation that was building, it felt like Patrick Lefevere was put to the side and the decisions were made around him. That's how I felt about the whole merger situation. And I don't know if you felt the same about that, but if that is the case, then it is not impossible that this is also Zdeněk Bakala having an opinion about it's time to move on about Lefevere. That's also a possibility. Or maybe that's also too disrespectful towards Patrick Lefevere for the fact that, if I gotta be honest, Soudal Quick-Step, like, I've had my fair shares of criticism towards Lefevere as the way he handles himself when it comes to women's cycling in the past, that seemingly has changed for the better, but also towards his riders, etc., stuff that I didn't like. But that doesn't change the fact that Lefevere is Quick-Step in my head. So it's very difficult to imagine Quick-Step without Lefevere. And Jürgen Foré, having been part of this team structure for now only a year, that's a very short period to get every aspect of the team under understanding and have all possible scenarios happen, that you're prepared for whatever's coming, of course. But then again, Jürgen Foré would be leading the team in an executive board together with Jenny Bakkala, which is the majority shareholder, and Ore van Zijl, who apparently is like the legal person behind the scenes within the team. So it's like a 3-people board. Does that mean decisions have to be made by all 3 or a majority of those 3 people before they go through like the big decisions? I don't know. I don't know if that's a possibility. Does Jürgen Foré have the right to make decisions by himself, and only for the very important decisions he needs to go to the board when it's about sponsors, etc.? I do think Foré is pretty good when it comes to potentially finding more long-term sponsorship for the team. And I think that I'm going on a lot of tangents, so I'll have to respond to a lot of sentences I've said. But I also want to mention, it seems like Bakkala is committing to the long-term future of the team with this move, to me personally.
That's what it looks like to me too. It's not a force out. This is the planned transition. I'm seeing the photos now of Lefevere giving a speech at basically it looks like an internal team day. These usually happen before the maybe like press conference days or their overall team presentations. But yeah, it looks like the planned transition. Lefevere hands over officially 31 December 2024. Foré starts 1 January 2025. So, but on your point about Lefevere and Quick-Step and the identity of them, it's like, yeah, he is synonymous with them, and he's maybe the most successful team manager ever. Like they list in the press release, almost 1,000 victories, 22 monuments, Grand Tour, 124 Grand Tour stages. Like one of the most successful teams of the last 20, 30 years.
True, and the one thing they always struggle with though is budgeting recently. I feel like in the last 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years maybe, I felt like there was always the comments or the whole spiel about, yeah, I'm not sure we'll be able to have the money for this. I'm not sure we have the money for that. Money doesn't grow on trees. Like all those kind of like takes from Lefevere. Maybe that's just a PR thing. Maybe that's just a thing he says along the way. But I will also say the fact that Lefevere is stopping as CEO and Jürgen Foré takes over, I kind of feel like Lefevere will. Does the report say anything about Lefevere maybe still being around in like an advisory role or something?
He's an honorary board member.
Because if that's the case, then Foré still has Lefevere to go to in case of issues. But I can imagine it's not going to be easy either for Lefevere to hand over what is his baby, this team, and see it being handled by other people, and maybe as a consequence not having the input he might want to have on it in the future. But that's the step you make stepping down, whether it's a personal decision or slightly forced by upper hands. Who knows? We don't know that externally. But doesn't it feel like a natural point? Like we've already spoken in the Quick-Step podcast, the preview we had a couple of weeks ago, that 2025, at the end of next year, is the ideal situation. Well, ideal is a weird thing to say, but is the expected situation where Remco Evenepoel might leave the team, because it's the last year that Quick-Step can get actual buyout money for getting rid of Remco. Because otherwise he's going to leave the year after anyway without the buyout money going to Quick-Step. And if that's the case, is it not the perfect moment for this transition to happen so that Foré can naturally have a bit of a new start for the team for next year and start preparing his Quick-Step 2025 onwards?
I think so, yeah. And I think this makes it more likely that there's the Remco buyout. And I think that they're going to, and in the press release, they talk about sort of resetting what Soudal Quick-Step will look like. They got 19 riders out of contract, end of 25.
Yeah.
Remco would make 20 if he leaves. So, yeah. And there's also, like, was Lefevere losing it a little bit in terms of the contracts given out to Lampard? Some contracts here or there that maybe weren't so good like they were of old when he used to get really good value out of them. Correct. I think it makes sense that this is happening, but I don't think he's forced out. I think this is just part of the natural transition. But it's good for the team that Bakala stays on board. Really, really good. That the team, such a historic team, a successful team, continues. But it will remain to be seen what we'll know when we see the transfer rumors mid-25 what their plan is to do, whether they go back to classic success.
Yes, sir. Next up. We go past the Quick-Step news and we go towards UAE Team Emirates because we had some news about their schedules. And let's start off with the most important one, Pogačar's schedule for 2025. It's kind of what we expected, to be honest. Maybe a classics more than I expected in terms of the Cobble Classics, but starting off with UAE Tour, Strade Bianche, Milano Sanremo, E3 Harelbeke, Saxo Classic, whatever it's called these days, Gent-Wevelgem, Tour of Flanders, Amstel Gold Race, Flèche Wallonne, Liège, Tour de France, World Championships is what's confirmed so far. And then it also says that, well, they mentioned that the Giro or the Vuelta would be confirmed later on, but I'm 100% of the opinion that it's going to be the Vuelta and not the Giro d'Italia. Even if you look at the schedule that's already been announced, how are you going to combine the Cobble Classics, the Hill Classics, and the Tour de France with doing the Giro also?
It's impossible.
So it's going to be the Vuelta.
It will be if he does the second Grand Tour, but it's going to be the Vuelta, but they just want to make sure the routes aren't out yet, but I guess I don't see why the Vuelta route wouldn't be good for him. UAE Tour he kind of has to do. I think it's a shame he does only one week race in Europe for the year, but then 2 Grand Tours. Like, obviously, we'd rather see him in Basque Country against, in that sort of race rather than UAE Tour. But he's doing the Dauphiné, but wouldn't it be great to have a Paris-Nice or Tirreno battle against?
Is he doing the Dauphiné?
Yeah, it's on the list, I think. It's kind of weird they didn't do it it was like interviews with Machin. No, it wasn't like a press. There's no press release about the schedule. Yeah. So people like pieced it together, piecemeal. None of it's really surprising, except for Gent-Wevelgem. That's the big. It's like, Gent-Wevelgem instead of the Dwars Tour. But
I don't know. It's
a historic race.
It's historic, and it has been won by non-sprinters a lot. So it's definitely a possibility that Pogačar can compete for winning Gent-Wevelgem. Is it the schedule? Is it the race that I expect it to be on that list? No. But to be honest, Pogačar's schedule is not surprising. Like, there's more to say about the actual other GC leaders of UAE Team Emirates, where, first of all, the team is now called UAE Team Emirates XRG, which XRG is nothing too extravagant, as in they already had a sponsor which was called ADNOC, which they have made. It's basically an investment group thing in the UAE, and they've made an arm that does specific oil-based or gas-based investments, whatever, and that is called XRG, and that will now be on the shirt of UAE Team Emirates. So it's the usual sports washing stuff on the shirt. It's nothing too special, but they have announced leaderships for Grand Tours the Giro. We already knew, or we could already see a user would probably do the Giro. Adam Yates also said to do the Giro, so what I was hoping for last year, Last year we're like, would Adam Yates go to the Giro? I like seeing a user and Yates going to the Giro d'Italia, and I think that's a very damn solid decision. Tour de France, Pogačar, Adam Yates, Almeida, Wellen, Sivakov, Polit, and Soler, while the Vuelta would be Almeida. Any surprises in there?
Nah, all makes sense to me. Yeah, we all knew Ayuso would have to do the Giro. We knew that Almeida, he gets stuck with the short end of the stick, so he'll do, Tour Vuelta. Yates asked to do the Giro, apparently. And, it all makes sense. Back
and
to the
Almeida
Gent-Wevelgem point.
We'll be together at Tour and Vuelta.
Do you reckon when Luca Paolini won Geen Wevelgem and Omloop, do you reckon his like power profile under 10 minutes was any different to Poggy?
No.
No.
But also it was a very weird addition. Being able to survive the weather conditions of that day, not being flown into a ditch was also a very valid...
Poggy, if he gets weathered like that, he'll thrive.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
Yeah, but UAE had the media day yesterday. The new kit, I don't know if this... What?
Looks like an oil spill.
Well, a new sponsor.
Sorry, but it's ugly. But also, like, we've heard the news that the UCI is making sure that...
That's what I meant, yeah.
That cycling teams cannot have jerseys that look exactly like the leadership jerseys in Grand Tours. And if maybe that's the reason for this, because there's a white jersey in Grand Tours.
But that's what...
That looks
does this get around that?
I think this gets around that, but do their national championship jerseys get around that?
This is still pretty... A lot of it's white. So what, you
the
mean
arms
like...
are black, though.
Yeah, but they're going to wear short sleeves in the Tour, you would think. So... What, is the tie-dye at the bottom and on the sleeve enough to not be a white jersey?
I don't know, but like, I'm sorry, but if we then take a look at the rumored Movistar jersey, I don't think it has been confirmed yet, it's like a white jersey with a blue square Movistar rectangle on their chest. Looks exactly like a white jersey being worn by either Movistar or Remco Evenepoel.
Yeah, so I think that's what's prompted their kit design change, UAE. There's also, they had the new Colnago aero bike release. God knows why Colnago didn't decide to pair that release with media with Tadej Pogačar. Mate, I think he's pretty marketable. If we do the Instagram rankings, he's pretty solid on there. So the fact that they released that...
It's Van Gils.
They released that, just the bike, no Poggy involved. And then apparently the team doesn't have the bikes built up yet for the media day to show him riding around on it. Is a bit of... a failure to launch, I would say.
Yeah. Marketing failure 101.
Like, you probably want to make use of your best asset.
Yeah.
But
welcome to cycling. Happens a lot here.
Yeah, but apparently that bike is
Teams
quick.
not activating sponsorships. And I wouldn't even say it's necessarily 100% the team's fault. I think it's on Colnago.
Yeah, I mean, if they're like, can Poggy ride the bike at the media day and it was built up, I presume he wouldn't say no.
Exactly.
They're not doing any serious training on media day normally. So
that being said...
Oh, they also announced their Devo team roster.
Wait. That being said, I have my criticism to the way the jersey looks. Looks awful. But hot take, I like how the bike looks. So many people are hating the bike. I love it.
I think the bike looks fine. Yeah, it looks good. I'm
the
not
only
going to be
oddity
too
is the saddle post.
I'm not going to be too critical of the teams for the kits. They now have to make a kit that doesn't... It's not pink. It's not yellow. It's not white. It's not light blue like in the Giro. It's not polka dot. It's not green.
Yeah, but...
What can they use?
No, they cannot use tie-dye.
They have to use tie-dye. They have to. They can't do a block print color.
Have you seen... No, I disagree with you. I disagree with you. And one of the reasons that leads me to this point is I come from the world of Pro Cycling Manager. There's lots of community members that make jerseys for that game so that people can ride with custom jerseys with sponsors that are not even in cycling. So, for example, my local Super Dino supermarket here in Tenerife, there's probably one dude that plays Pro Cycling Manager that has made a Super Dino jersey for Pro Cycling Manager. You're busy with flies, so I'm not even sure you'll get the point that I'm trying to make. But that... I genuinely say that the average Pro Cycling Manager community jersey person is better at making jerseys than all these fucking companies doing it in World Tour. They look so much better. Even though they have colors that don't look like leadership jerseys. And it just looks so much better.
But are they still complying with like because the sponsors want them in the sponsor colors?
Yeah,
like Decathlon
they are
want them
complying
in
with it.
Decathlon. Yeah,
I'll show you around, my friend.
No excuse then. But I mean, I have a lot of sympathy for UAE that get told halfway through the year. By the way, the white jersey colorway you've been using with the UAE logo, the team you own, you know, the brand you've been building up for 5 years. The UAE and Gianetti gets told you can't use a white jersey anymore in the Tour de France, and you can't use it in the Giro. You can't, and you can only do an alternate kit in one race per year.
And on top of that, races are not being restricted when it comes to the leadership jerseys. The Tour de France, Skoda says, "Oh, we're doing a rebrand." Tour de France changes their green jersey to an ugly green jersey, and now BORA had a kit that looked exactly like it, so now they can't have that kit after that year. So it's like, I think races should be restricted on their leadership jerseys. And I know this is going to be a hot take in the traditional world that is cycling, because we've loved the yellow jersey, the pink jersey, and the red jersey. Sure, it's okay, but it severely restricts the team's ability. And also, where are we going to end? Are we just going to say teams can't look like the Grand Tour's leader jerseys, or are we going to do it any leader jersey? Because every color is used. There's races with a white jersey with green stripes on it. Is Caja not going to be able to ride the, what is it, Basque Country?
It's just Grand Tours for the moment. But
but
slippery slope, Benji.
It is a slippery slope. And
how much money does the Vuelta get for the KOM for the youth jersey, do you reckon, in sponsorship?
I don't know.
But so the money they're getting gets prioritized over the 18 World Tour teams' right to brand themselves as they wish. Seems in balance to me.
I think we should restrict Grand Tour jerseys to the leader's jersey. Nah. The problem is, I was going to say the leader's jersey can be different for each Grand Tour, but the other jerseys need to be the same. But the problem is pretty obvious. I love the Ciclamino jersey, and I won't let it go away.
Maybe make those polka dot or tie-dye or something. I think the minor jerseys should all be polka dot. Now, the Ciclamino should be a base white with purple polka dots. And
that is so incredibly ugly.
Yeah. Well, no. You don't like the Maillot? You don't like the KOM jersey in the Tour?
The Maillot has a history of looking fucking good with red. With purple, it's ugly.
Nah, it look good. I think they should all
I'm expecting to go to Australia in January, and you will be wearing a fully polka dot jersey in purple. Deal?
I'll have to ask Jay Vine if he's got a spare one of the Vuelta KOM, the polka dot with the blue dots.
And then you have to paint all of them purple, right?
I'm not sure I'll fit into it. Okay. But that's jersey talk. It's going to be tricky for teams. It's going to be maybe a disaster for teams. So yeah, this is the UAE Team Emirates new kit. I'm not sure they would have done a new kit, and they were kind of forced to, so I feel a bit sorry for them, actually. Anything else? Any other news, Benji? Is there...
Not really.
Yeah, if you were managing Poggy, would you have done anything differently with his calendar?
I probably wouldn't have added Henry Evenepoel, but maybe he wants to ride Henry Evenepoel. So if he wants to do it, then he might as well do it. But I would have just announced the Vuelta.
Tour of Vuelta Worlds is tight. That's tight.
It's tight, but if anyone can do it, it's Poggy.
Yeah, but with the travel and the vaccinations,
he'll be fine.
I'm sure he will be, but that's the only challenging sequencing I see in his season. Otherwise, there's plenty of time to recover and prepare. And indeed, it'd be really good to see him at the Dauphiné. It's the biggest 1 week historically, maybe the most prestigious. So it's good if he goes to the Dauphiné. Any other news in the world of cycling, Benji?
I don't think so. Tomorrow I'm riding up Tadej. Trying at least. Mate,
Tomorrow you're riding up to you going to do it?
51-kilometer climb. Why the fuck am I doing this?
I would never do that, yeah.
Like, the hardest climb I've ever done was literally 2 days ago. Santiago del Teide, which was 14K at 6 point whatever %. Which the hardest climb before that was Ordino, which was 9K at whatever, 9.9K at like 7% roughly. This is 51 kilometers. And the first 7K is about 7 to 8%. And after that, it's basically average 5% for the last like 43 kilometers. So it's all about the gradients I can handle. It's not as steep as Corkscrew, but it's a lot longer. So it's all about whether I can sustain, which will, I think, be 4.5 to 5 hours of climbing for me.
That's a long time. Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
good luck
it
to you. Make sure to take enough food and water.
I will.
Make sure you got, if you get cooked, you can just turn around and roll downhill, I guess. So
Who knows? Might be my last podcast if I die tomorrow. Guess we'll find out.
The last thing I want to say is Sarah Gigante, she underwent iliac artery surgery. She missed TDU. I'm not sure if we mentioned this on a previous podcast. She won TDU last year, and obviously she loves racing in Australia, so that's a really big shame. Best wishes for her and her recovery. The iliac artery surgery, it's been common. Jonas Rickard had to have it, I believe, in Belgium. Yeah. He's come back okay.
Vos?
Obviously. Who?
Definitely Van Anrooy, but was it Marianne Vos that also had it a year and a half ago, 2 years ago? Not sure.
Not sure.
Definitely Van Anrooy last year.
Definitely Van Anrooy. Yeah, Vos had it too. Vos had it too in 23. Left iliac artery. So really, it's really common. And but she's obviously come back, Vos, and she was killing it this year. So hopefully Sarah can come back. She's had some, she's had some ups and downs, and I think she'll overcome it. And we'll see her maybe midway through the year. So thanks for listening as always, and we'll see you with another potty tomorrow.